We're in Styria now. Compared with the first house from Burgenland, you can see this house is much bigger, and it's a typical log style type of house in Austria with very small windows. As you can see, the windows are always only the half of one log to not lose the stability of a log. There are these logs are joined at the corners of the building, and if you would cut bigger or make bigger windows, you would cut through the whole log and would lose the stability of the building. And here we have, we may have a close-up of these spikes. At the lower windows we have these iron spikes. They are called wolf teeth and should protect the living people here from animals entering through the windows. We will go inside to the smoke room now, and just a small detail before we enter it. There was no chimney over the fireplace as we know it nowadays. The fireplace was open and the room was filled with smoke in the upper part, and the smoke escaped through the door and then moved outside through this chimney. This is the smoke room, or the stove which I mentioned before. And there's no chimney, as I mentioned, and this whole room was filled in the upper part with smoke. You can imagine that this was quite uncomfortable, and sometimes the owners of the house had a separate room where they slept. There's also a nice detail on this door. It can be closed only partly, so that only the upper part was opened, so that the smoke could get out of the room. And here we can see the buildings around the main farmhouse were usually storing barns. So they had, for example, corn or hay in there to store it for the winter. That's a special kind of barn. It's called Köse in German. They use this one to dry straw, for example, or to dry grass and wheat. And you could put several layers of straw in there, and that's the reason why it's so high. In the Alps we have quite a huge amount of snow in winter, and they put these stones on the roof to protect the shingles against weather, for example against snow loads in winter. We're now at the so-called Hanslerhof. This is so-called mountain house because it was located in about 970 meters altitude and in a steep terrain. And usually at this type of houses they had the entrance in the front, but with this house the entrance is on the side. This building is one of those which we have analyzed already, and there was a small surprise. During the analysis we discovered an older part of the building which dates back to about 1450. So the building seems to be older than it was believed to be. There is another interesting thing in this building. When we look into the rooms, we will see nice furniture, partly covered with paint. And this furniture is called Alpacher furniture, according to the region where it was developed. And the owners of this house were on the one hand side farmers, but on the other hand side they were also carpenters. Another speciality about this house is that the stables are reachable without getting out of the house. That was especially when there was bad weather. It was quite comfortable to just cross the room and you're in the stables and can feed the livestock or the animals. This is the kind of sled the lumberjacks used to bring the logs down from the mountainside into the valley. It was of course used in winter, and as we can see on the image, there was a huge pile of logs on the back of the sled, and the lumberjack or the woodcutter was operating the sled in front of it and breaking it with his feet, and usually with two brake handles. And as you can imagine, this was a quite dangerous thing to do and a quite dangerous work, because with up to 15 heavy logs in the back of you, the whole sled had up to a few hundred kilograms. We are now in the most western part of Austria, in Vorarlberg, and the building up there is so-called Alphut. It was located in an altitude of 1,700 meters, and this special building has about 50,000 wooden shingles on its roof, and there are also on the walls there are about 25,000 wooden shingles to protect it against weather. We are now standing in front of the stable. There is the same kind of stable on the other side of the building, and both sides provided a place for about 40 cattle. So during summer there were about 60 to 80 cattle up here. They were milked twice a day, and the dairymen who worked up here, or the herdsmen, made about 200 wheels of cheese in the 100 summer days they stayed up here. We are now in the stable now. That's where the cattle, during bad weather for example, under the roof they had a storage where they had so-called weather hay. This was hay which was used during bad weather when the cattle couldn't be outside, to have some food for them. And also the workers up here were sleeping under the roof. And when you look at the floor, you can still see the marks where the cattle were standing. Until now we have done a lot of research on wood species. Why is a wood species used for a special utilization? So in future we will do this together with school people and with handicraftsmen who know how to work with the wood in the right way, to gain more information for us, but also to pass the knowledge to the next generation.